under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, item 1A of the approval of the minutes from the September 16th, 2021 meeting, since we didn't have a meeting last month. If everybody had a chance to read through that and note any changes if needed.
I read it. I didn't see any changes that need to be made. So I make a motion to accept.
I second that motion.
Okay, we got a motion.
I second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion passed. Number 2, consideration of public comments. Those wishing to address the Clean City Commission need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time pursuant to the ARS 38-431 et al. Does anybody have any comments for the public comment session? None? All right, then. I'd like to hear from the public. All right, we'll go on to item 3, reports. This one will be wildcat dumping and nuisance abatement presentation. Boy, I can't hardly talk today.
Mr. Chairman, members of the
Flagstaff.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, the commission has expressed some interest in having a presentation, kind of go through the code enforcement nuisance abatement process. We had talked with the police department. Chief Cooper had planned on being here for this meeting, but something did come up and he was unable to attend. So tonight we have Lieutenant Jim Bryce from the Kingman Police Department here to kind of go through the code enforcement process and hopefully answer any questions that you might have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Good evening.
Welcome.
What I did is I've actually have a couple handouts. This will help, and when I have recently taken over code enforcement along with my other duties. So, I can do that. I'm capable. Okay. You afraid of me to leave you? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And the handouts is when I took this over, I had to make some notes because I'm basically handle major crimes, and I was given this duty as one of my responsibilities. So what I did is treat it as, in these handouts, I kind of broke it down between criminal and civil. So some of the things, it's just an educational thing, definitely was for me, the process. So again, one of the things I'm trying to do is also streamline the reporting system that is. Some of the things that we're getting through the department is we're getting like either emails going to the mayor, emails going to the city manager, and it's driving through the chain of command through elongated emails. I'm trying to clean that up. One of the other things, a couple of folks that I've been working with within the community, and also like builders and other people that have had complaints. And what it will do is, if you can call directly to the Kingman Police Department, what we'll do is we'll pull a reporting DR. That DR then is officially tracked, and it's in our system, and then I can track those DRs. But going to that is how it really originates. So if it's a criminal complaint, a complaint is pulled. Either a complainant calls it in to us, and we'll receive that, or one of our NSOs, which they do drive around and look for complaints or compliance issues, and then they'll pull their own DR within our system. And then they're the initiating officer. So when they see a complaint, what they'll do, or a issue, what they'll do is they have to make notification to those people in person or by certified mail. Those people are giving 30 days to make compliance. So they have 30 days right from the initial contact. So after that, after 30 days, either that party is compliant with our requirements, or they're not. So if they are compliant, the case is closed and we're finished with that case. If they are not compliant, it moves on to a non-compliant issue. So a non-compliant issue will be, it's basically submitted to the criminal charges to the city attorney. The city attorney, like any other case, happens, and it's done by long form. We don't cite them. It goes through the city attorney's process. Sometimes the city attorney will also take that and work with that party and give them an extension to make them compliant. So that's out of our hands once it hits the city attorney's office. So then that goes to that system, which then goes into the judicial system. So once that complaint goes to the city attorney's office, goes to the judicial system, which means the city attorney's office and the court system now start working together. So that is how that works. Then again, I covered that where the city attorney may give that party a continuance to make them compliant, depending on how that person works with the city attorney itself. If they don't fall within that compliance level, then the city attorney will then file within the process and file that complaint into the court. It is going to file in the system. The judge then rules on that. So again, if the defendant becomes compliant, there is some extensions. If not, then the court process then goes and finds that court process. The court process is basically, could be hearings, could be extended. Remember, it goes into a criminal system, which means they have legal rights to do so, represented by their attorneys and processes. So what I did is on here, what I learned too on this is the time of this process in criminal processes, just like in any other criminal case, can vary depending on the defendant, the prosecution, the defendant. So some of these, I basically sat down with the guys, and most of the persons that we do criminal cases on are compliant within 30 days. Most of them are. So they do get cleaned up and taken care of within 30 days. Some of them can take up to like 6 months, and then one case that we actually had almost lasted 3 years for criminal compliance. But that's within the judicial system. We can't address that. That's within that system. The attorneys, prosecuting attorneys, and the court system. So then I broke it down, and that is the criminal system. Then I broke it down again to the civil system. So on the top of the page, I have criminal, and the other one has civil. And if that's my handwriting, so if you guys can't read that, I apologize. I think I did pretty good when I was trying to learn this process. Again, the same thing. Either a person calls in a complaint, which we take, and we pull a DR, what is the report number? Or NSOs do drive around, neighborhood services, I'm sorry, and then they'll pull one with a self-initiated case. So when that happens, they'll make contact again. They have to make contact with the property owner or the renter, and it has to be done in person or certified mail. And then they give them the 30-day notice to become compliant. Then they recheck those properties, and then they find out if they are compliant or not. If they are compliant, the case is closed, and we close the case. There's no further action taken on our part. If the case is not compliant, then we move it to another action. The next action is we long form the complaint to the city attorney, and it goes to the city attorney's office. The city attorney then files a process, a civil case in the municipal court. In that system, the court system proceedings, the judge can issue an extension depending on the defendant, on whether they move forward or not, and give them an extension. So each part of these steps, there's extensions that can be given by other parties within the system. Then to make them compliant. If you see number 4, if they're not in compliance, judge will grant an abatement form after the process. Then the order to abate is given to us. Then we gain 3 bids by companies that do abatement, and then we take the lowest bid quote. With that then, that means it goes to the judge, has granted us the abatement, then we get the quotes. Then once we have the quotes, the judge gives us that abatement. We then proceed with the lowest bid. Gives us the power to go on the property, excluding the house, and then we actually get the house or the property abated, which means the cleanup is done. The cost of that is the lowest quote. So then once that process is done, Then we send that to the city attorney, showing that we have cleaned up the property. So the quote, the lowest bid quote, and the process of our final report showing that the property was abated goes back to the city attorney. City attorney files it with the city clerk system. City clerk system then files a lien on the property for that property for the total cost of our cost on that for the billing of that. So there is a process. The time of the process varies. The average case for full abatement is less than a year. That is how it works, and that within all these processes. Some of them work faster. Again, we try to gain, our goal is to gain compliance as quickly as we can, hopefully within 30 days. But some processes do take longer, depending on the person we're dealing with and the owners of the property. And then what I've done, and that's just kind of a nutshell on those. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, Lieutenant, once the 30 days is up and you turn it over to the city attorney, you have any idea what the time frame is for him to get it into the court system and get it
That's part of their process, and I don't have that because it's all in there. Once we send it to the judicial system, it's in the judicial system, and we have no way of pushing that forward any faster.
So I work with Dave a lot, and I work with all the builders that you're familiar with. Anyway, just a quick question. So now with the new DR system, once the 30 days is up, do we email Dave? I'm trying to keep the builders to not email Ron every time.
Actually,
I can't give them an answer.
Actually, what's really great about this system, what I've talked to a couple of them, is, and actually citizens and builders, is basically once they call it in, we give them a DR number. They have the report number.
Exactly.
And once they have the report number, they can keep it on there and say, what's the update? But they should know, what we're trying to do is educate everyone. A couple of them I've done, once I've explained the process, they understand that. So we have 30 days to do that. And then after that, it depends on which process, civil or criminal, can change. The best way to do this, if it goes into the criminal system and it goes into the filing motion, we really don't have, we shouldn't be calling the city attorney all the time. That's not our job to do so. So the complainant can actually call the city attorney themselves and find out what that is. We'll always check on that. I mean, if we get a call, because it's a rarity, so we can do that.
So that was my question. Once the 30 days is up, there's no reason to contact your office. If they want an update, they could call the city attorney's office. Okay.
Once it goes in there, in compliance. So again, on some exceptions, we can give our own extension on both, and we have in the past, I understand that, but it's where we look at the properties and they actually are abating that themselves, and it's easier to work with these people to get them on that process. So a couple times from our understanding is we've gone to these places, and matter of fact, I've done a ride along to figure this thing out too, is that once somebody's become compliant, remember there's financial issues that they have. They may not be able to afford the total cleanup. They may have inherited the property from someone else. They're trying to clean up. But if we see improvements as it goes, we may give them a small extension, but it's not going to be anything lengthy. I can guarantee that nothing goes lengthy with that. You know, sometimes it's been like another 7 days to help them out for another week or something on that
And
part.
on that subject too, on behalf of the commission, I've worked with Dave, if you have a property like that where they're willing to get it cleaned up, maybe don't have the finances to do so. Dave said he would contact me and we would share that with, and hopefully we could step in and help too somehow.
See, that would be
Haven't gotten that phone call yet, but we are here to help in that case, yeah.
good.
Okay.
That's excellent. And then the other thing is on that handout, you have this kind of form, and what we're trying to do is some of the confusion that I'm finding out within the processes that I've looked at is people really don't know who to call on everything that the complaint that they may have. So what we're doing is, and education has been gone to our dispatch centers, so if somebody calls, they can look at this form, and I have to apologize because I'm telling you, whoever can read the ones in red, the highlighted, good luck, because I can't.
I can't read any of it.
So I know it should be broader, but this is what I was supplied with, and we're trying to improve, but it kind of gives everybody an idea of there's different types of issues. There's also weed issues, abatement issues. It's a combination of a couple different cases. So again, also have another handout which I can give you, and this is what I've learned. This is actually a Kingman Fire Department form, and what that does is to give you some information on that they handle also weeds. And if you look at this on their vegetation, weeds, and some public nuisances complaints. So again, some of the borders that I've worked on is, so if you call into dispatch, and here's the beauty of this. If we can get people to start calling into dispatch, dispatch has this data, they will drive it to the right group or police department, fire department, and it speeds up the process. And that's what I want to do, is speed up the process so that we don't have a lag time. So one of the things I've looked at is between emails, going different directions, going to different people, and then eventually reaches our chief, and then it filters down to me. So what I'm trying to do is speed up that process, and part of it is, if we can get folks to call directly to the Kingman Police Department, dispatch, if you give them what the issue you have, they alone should be able to look at this sheet and go, okay, this either goes to the fire department, Public Works, or to us. And that speeds up the process instead of it being filtered all over and then we're passing it off to each other and passing off to different bureaus or divisions or departments. Yeah, anybody can call the Kingman Police Department, 753-2191, and then when you get them, and then during day hours, what they'll do is automatically transfer you to dispatch, and that's how it works. Anything after hours, you call that number, it automatically goes to dispatch. So it's just a one-call number, and we handle all the transfers. You don't have to pick up the phone, call anybody else. We handle all of that for you. Our customers should not be transferred from. Well, one of the other things that we want to stop, and we all agree in all of our departments, is a customer should never be transferred over and over and over again. That's not how it is. It's a one-stop shopping place. You call. That's one of the things I would do is streamline that so that if you call, someone calls in, somebody looks at it and goes, okay, this is the department you need to be talking to. We transfer you to that department. Again. So that's what I'm trying to do, and then of course, as within the code enforcement, neighborhood services, is to show that what we do. So some of the things that intermingle between fire and the code enforcement police side is what we'll do is you'll see that weeds is the fire department's complaint issue. It goes to them. But what we've been handling is if there is a place that has junk and debris on the property and it's weeds, we just handle the whole thing. The police department with our neighborhood service handle the whole thing. We're not splitting that and processing that to different bureaus because that just makes things harder, and then we're trying to streamline everything. So that's just the easiest way to work on this. So that's kind of a nutshell approach, and I hope I answered some questions because I'm still learning. So what I'd like to do is see, the commission has actually had to work on this for some time, and then see what some of the questions you have for me that I can hopefully answer, and then if not, I'll get an answer for you folks. So is there any questions?
Let's
Rod,
start
you
with
gotta have
Kathy, if you have any. Michael?
Yes, I do. Thank you for your presentation, Lieutenant. I was wondering, does the neighborhood services, do they respond to complaints by anonymous people? And
You
if,
can, and to answer that is we respond to complaints anyway. The Kingman Police Department is set up that if you call the Kingman Police Department and we transfer you to dispatch, it goes, you could be anonymous, absolutely, in any crime. And I'm talking about criminal, civil, you have a right to be anonymous anywhere. So, but they'll ask you your name and all your information, but you can remain anonymous. So if you call the Kingman Police Department, you say, this is happening, we transfer you to dispatch. And then dispatch is going to ask you for that name. Did you have your name, date of birth, telephone number, and those kind of things. You can just say, this is the problem, I want to remain anonymous, and we go, okay, that's not an issue. And then dispatch pulls the report number, transfers that report, and actually dispatches either neighborhood services or a police officer to that call.
Thank you. The reason why I ask is because I know a lot of neighbors are hesitant to report something because they don't want a big conflict and everything. And I'm just curious if they respond to it or if there's a way that they can respond, file a complaint without their information being given to the violator, so.
Oh, absolutely. That's just
Awesome.
like in all criminal cases, the ones I even deal with is, absolutely, you have a right to be anonymous.
Thank you.
Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, we like that. If you remain anonymous, how does that person, and that issue, I don't, that's probably a good thing that they're anonymous because you don't want the conflict between neighbors. But in some cases, like builders and stuff, when I've talked to a couple of them, I would like them to give them the name as a builder, as a business, because then if that builder calls me later and says, hey, Jim, this is what I have, and I go, what's your DR number? I punch it in the system, go, okay, this is where it's at. It's already transferred to the city attorney's office. So, and then, like I said, I'm still working on that part. Will we still probably follow up with the city attorney's office for you? Most likely. Because again, it's a one-stop shopping is kind of where I want it to be, where our customers don't have to be transferred everywhere to get information.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Rod, you got anything else?
Only I wanted to say, LT, is that, Dave's been great. I've been working with builders and with Dave for over a year now, and try and take care of a lot of this stuff ourselves, and then when I can't, I turn over to Dave. But has been great, and that's all I want to say. He's been great. Everybody's been prompt and working good, in the code enforcement area.
Yeah, they're hardworking, and that's one of the things I found out with them is they are dedicated and hardworking. Not only do they handle code enforcement issues, which I'm going to probably rename them to neighborhood services, but it is that part. It's about code enforcement and then also animal control. So remember, they're still handling animal control issues, and that's what they respond to. So it's a dual role for them. So that they are quite busy.
That it? Randy, do you have any questions for him? All right. Fee?
Yeah, I got a couple. First question, the people that drive the neighborhood services trucks, are they police officers or are they like private?
They're citizens. They are not sworn off. They are not sworn.
Okay.
So they don't carry guns, and so that's some of the things that we won't allow.
Now, when they're driving around the neighborhoods, especially like on a Friday and the garage sale signs are up and a lot of them are attached to city property such as telephone posts and sign posts and whatnot, which is a code violation. Do they go to the garage sales and tell these people that, hey, you're not supposed to do this? Or
If they see a clear violation, they will stop and, again, they'll initiate the complaint. They will pull the DR number, and then they will make contact with
I mean, even if there isn't a DR number, if they're just driving around and they see the sign, do they take it upon themselves to go do that? Is that part of their job?
They can, yes.
I used to do that until I just got so tired of it that I quit doing it. And I could spend all day driving around to garage sales on Saturdays and Sundays. Yeah, and I've had some interesting reactions with neighborhood services. At one point, I was told that I was the bad guy in the situation, that I was turning in people for illegal dumping, and that I was slowing down the process by making telephone calls to something they already knew about. Well, I didn't know they already knew about it, and so I made the telephone calls, and Dave, at that time Chief DeVries, got involved with it, and I had pictures, and we went to the city the manager with it, and that's the last I ever heard of it, and they're still dumping in the same place. With the saying that they had ownership, the people that own the property gave them permission to dump the cement trucks and the waste concrete because he wanted to use it as landscaping. And they're still dumping as far as I know. And that was out at Yavapai, off of Wallapai Mountain Road, about a half a mile off of Wallapai Mountain Road on Yavapai, if I recall. And that goes clear back to 2015. The other, because I was concerned with, I called about weed abatement, and I was told that they don't have anything to do with that anymore. That's the fire department. But do they themselves notify the fire department when they see a really bad weed situation?
They communicate with, actually, both of those departments actually communicate with each other.
They do.
Yes, they do. Now, remember, when someone's driving around, just like a police officer, there are certain things that we prioritize. There are some things that are prioritized. So if I'm driving around, like in my bureaus, I'm not looking for speeders, I'm not looking for misdemeanor crimes. I work major felonies, so again, I'm not looking for those kind of things, because one, my caseload is huge, and I don't have time for that. Just like in any other job that we have, any one of us has a job, we prioritize what our duties are and what is best for the citizens of our community, and mine is our victims. So those are the kind of things that I will do. So again, if they're driving around and they have downtime and their caseload is clean and they are looking for those kind of things, then they'll stop and take a look at those things.
Okay. Because I thought just, drive by, take the address and turn it in would be a simple thing to do.
And believe,
Because there was a situation with opaque fencing. There's several salvage yards that you can see right into the salvage yards in the old junk cars. And there's the biggest one with all the traffic was down on Eastern. I turned that in, and within a week that was taken care of. Bam, quick. So I was just wondering, why these other ones haven't been taken care of. As you would thought that they would have, someone, especially with neighborhood services, driving around in those particular areas.
it just depends on where they're driving around, what caseload they have. Again, I can't answer that specifically, and I don't want to overstep some things. But again, if everybody works together, and like our citizens, if they see something that they don't like and if they believe it's a code enforcement violation, and it could be perceived that, and I'm finding out too in some of the code rules, it's how you interpret those code rules. It's not clearly stated. So again, it goes to another department who writes those codes, and so that's some of the things that I'm still learning on how to interpret those. So we may actually call that entity and find out what that truly means. So again, it's a process. But again, if you believe there is a code violation, there's nothing wrong with calling the Kingman Police Department saying, I have an issue with this place. And then they'll pull a report number, somebody looks into it, and here's the beauty of this. If you, and you've called in before, you give your name as the reporting party, and they give you will be given a report number. So you have the report number.
In fact, I've got callbacks from them that thanking me for calling in, so, yeah.
Yeah, so you can call back in and you can do it and ask what's going on with that case. Remember, everything takes a little bit of time with.
And that was what I usually get. It takes time. It's in the process, and that's all they can.
But if you're the
that's all they
reporting
can tell me.
party, you can get those updates.
Okay.
So that's part of that. If it's anonymous, we don't give updates because we don't know who we're talking to.
Yeah.
So again, those are the kind of things that's the benefit of giving your name as a reporting party.
Yeah, I have no problem.
Okay.
That's about it. I vented my.
Okay. And hopefully that's in the past, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
LT,
Teresa?
one more quick question.
Oh, no, go
Let's-
ahead.
let's- I'm
Let's
sorry.
go.
Keep going, keep going.
Right, Teresa?
So I have a couple. I was wondering, do you have specific areas in the city that are more out of compliant than in? And if so, what types of problems do you have? Is it specific tires? Is it weeds? Is it just trash?
Actually, what's kind of interesting about that is it's sporadic. And we've seen different neighborhoods where you would think you would never see any junk and debris, and then somebody calls it in and we go over there and then it's like, wow, okay, we see that. So again, there is no certain areas that are truly out of code, and we don't specifically look for geographic areas for those. One, we could be targeting people, and that's not really a good thing to do because it shows that we are discriminating in some ways. But again, if we're driving around, we see a major violation, then it's very easy to be spotted, we're gonna take action on it.
I just thought maybe you might have like, last year we received 30 calls on this side and 5 on this side. So to me, that would say no matter what the situation, these had more, requests of some sort. That's what I was looking for.
I don't have that information, but that's a good question. They're all good questions. And again, I may not have all the answers, but again, I'm not trying to make excuses, but we just went to a system that I think is gonna be helpful to a question like that, is hopefully I can geomap some of those things of the calls for service over the year and give, hopefully by beat. We call it by beat. So if we say, if it's across the tracks, here's the beat system. The beat system is this area to this area. This is how many calls for service were handled in this beat system. So again, those are the kind of things that hopefully we can work on, and that's one of the things I'm finding is there's so many different reporting ways that we get things, emails, telephone calls through to the city manager, mayor, and those kind of things, and they're filtering down. So then I'm having to go through like a string of emails to figure out what someone's issue is and how it would work, and then process that. So that's what I'm trying to do is get things streamlined, and then we can get things done at a quicker level.
And my other question is, do you know roughly how much you guys spend, the city spends for abatements, like roughly?
That's a good question, and I don't have that because I'm still new to that,
Okay.
I'm not even gonna speculate to that, because then I'll be trapped to a number, and I don't wanna be, that to happen to me. I do not have that.
And that's all I had, guys.
And that goes on their tax roll, doesn't it? The cost of
We actually
abatement?
budget for abatement.
Oh, you do?
Police department actually, that's part of our budget process. We do have a budget process for abatement.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a lot of money that we budget for that, so I do believe some of them are like if I remember right, one of them was like $1,000 that we spent for abatement, or a little bit more. Some, I think was, now, I can't remember the other one, and one was a bit larger than that. So again, I don't want to overstate something that I have to come back and maybe grovel about.
Can that cost be put on their tax assessment?
Yeah, actually what it does is anytime there's an abatement, we put a lien on the property.
Good.
So the cost of whatever it costs us to abate that, the city clerk then, once it's all through the process, goes to the city clerk files and puts the lien on that property. So whoever owns the property can never sell that without paying the city back. So that's a good thing.
What can be done, or is there any kind of, like a vagrancy law or something to abate these people from sleeping in storefronts at nighttime and on private properties and in washes and whatnot around town?
That, actually, the deputy chief Freed actually gave a presentation to council on that, and that is a constitutional issue. We don't have rights to go and arrest people or move them without permission to do so by store owner. We have to have a criminal element to basically remove the Kingman Police Department, all police departments. Remember, you're dealing with constitutional rights that people have, no matter what the issue is. So again, that presentation was given to council, and it's a society problem as far as people like parks or some other areas. But if it's a city-owned park, city-owned property, and they are sleeping there, sleeping is called camping. There is a violation that we can address for camping. But if someone is just sitting there in the city park and they're not committing a criminal offense, we cannot remove them.
How about like a storefront, and they're out in front begging and harassing customers that don't give them any money?
Actually, what can happen is we've actually reached out to businesses, and some businesses are responding. Actually, we're getting quite a few now, is that a business can then say, I want this person trespassed. So the police department gets that call, and then we show up, we contact that person, and that person then is told that they are trespassed. We fill out a trespass warning, it goes into our system so that that person comes back again, but then the representative of the store has to desire prosecution. And again, I can honestly tell you, what happens is some people do not want to go to court and don't want to prosecute someone. All they do is want us to
Get rid of
tell them to leave the property. And sometimes it's over and over and over.
So, don't know if it's a Clean City Commission area, but I mean, it could be.
Well,
And I
yeah,
don't know
I
if the chief has spoke to you about what I did for over a month and a half, going to the business owners and getting the trespass form. Dave created a trespass form, Dave and I did, per the city attorney's permission. We created the trespass form. I went and got 20 or 30 of them signed up. Most all the major shopping centers, and anywhere that some of your officers said, oh, please get that guy to sign. So you do have blanket trespass on file, that if we call in and if there's someone that's causing problem in front of Staples or whatever, anybody can call in and say, you have a trespass form on file, please take care of this. Are you familiar with that?
The trespass form is usually done in the past, there have been changes, like I said, and I can't specifically answer to that, but there was forms that we sent to businesses, and they could sign, either the president, the manager, or someone in that business could sign that saying, go ahead and prosecute that.
Okay, so I had owners and property managers sign the forms. They all got turned over to chief. And there's even a master list for your officers to carry in their car. So when they roll up on a situation like that, they have a master list. It has everybody, the owner's name, phone number, address, everything. They can fill out their own. So the police officer is supposed to be, from my understanding from chief, being proactive with this. Instead of just rolling through a shopping center and seeing someone laying on the sidewalk, all he has to do is look at his master sheet that I gave 20 or 30 copies to the chief. All he has to do is look at his master list and say, yes, we have a trespass form signed on file. I don't know if your officers have a resource in their computer system. They have a resources they go to. My son's a police officer. He just plugs into his resources, and they're all there listed. Chief told me he didn't have anybody to type them in. I told him I would come over and spend a day at your office typing them all in for him. Instead, I made a complete master list and turned them over to the chief with all the information your guys would need. So hopefully that's helpful for you.
I can't speak to that at this point in time. I can only tell you that in the past, well, some years ago, because I've been out of that patrol for a long time, is that we did contact businesses, and the business party then signs that, a representative of that business. But then in the past I'm speaking of the past, is the business itself calls and says, I want this person trespassed. And then it doesn't have to, and the problem that we had in the past was managers change, employees change, all those things. So you had something on file from corporate that says, from the corporate entity, that we want this person trespassed. Again, I don't know how far that went with as far as filing charges for the city attorney, and that's another process that would have to go through. I don't have a clear answer for that, and if you'd like, I'll check on that and I can respond back.
Yeah, nobody's gotten back. I mean, chief said he was going to try and put everything in motion that I started, and nobody's ever got back to me. However, I do notice your officers, like in the shopping center by Staples and stuff, if I call in, they know that there's a trespass warning on file, and they usually respond and take care of it. But I know a couple of your officers has asked me for it, and I carry them in my briefcase usually. But it's all brand new. I mean, this just happened within the last 3 months, so.
Now, if a business does file a trespassing form, and that form says that we want them trespassed, and it's on our file, okay, that could still be a civil trespass and not criminal, because criminal is a totally different animal to that one. So again, if you're talking civil side, that would be easy. Sure. Yeah, if we have those on file, then police officers could go, this is on file, you have to leave. Or we'll contact that entity and say, do they want prosecution?
Exactly.
But the flip side is that, how many entities desire prosecution? So again, we don't want to be trapped with our hands and we say you have to leave, we contact the business manager goes, nah, I'm not pressing charges, just tell them to leave. As police, that unties our hands criminally, and what we can do is say, they're asking you to leave. And if they say, I'm not leaving, we go, you just we're not touching that person. We will be violating that person's civil rights. So that's where attorneys come in, constitutional law comes in, state law comes in, and those are the kind of things have. But again, I understand the thought process behind it, and we can move forward on that, but I'll find out about that.
All righty, sir. I have a few questions here myself. Number one, we had graffiti removal, patrol, reporting, and there was a reward that you could get for reporting graffiti, but there was no way to apply to get the reward. And that's been a couple of years ago since we discussed it here at this meeting. So I was just wondering if anything has been done with that program.
Is that through the police department or through, and I can tell you how I work is with major crimes, if we have need for information on criminal aspects, what I've done is go through silent witness or a victim's rights, and then an entity outside the Kingman Police Department will then offer a reward. That part is a separate place from us. So if someone calls in, but that is not just calling in graffiti, that is if you're calling in the person who is responsible for that crime, and then say you call it in and you say, this is little Joey is the one that did this. We find out through our investigation that little Joey did do that, then we can take that and go, yes, sir, he solved the crime, now that entity pays you.
That was the problem we had before. There was no way for that person who reported the other person to apply to get the reward. It's only like $50, but it was like there was no process to actually
So it
get
wasn't-
paid the reward.
So it wasn't silent witness?
No.
Okay, I don't know how even that process, the proposal on that.
And my second question was, we have a couple businesses that are a continual problem, which is across the street from Smith's and by the new Culvers now, is always a mess. In fact, me and my group was out and cleaned up the lot on Monday, about 500 pounds of litter and mattresses and what have you from that area. But both of those places, Bashes, it's a continual problem. Is there any way to get it where it's not a continual litter problem? I mean, it's obvious somebody can see it when they drive by there, whether it be the police department or neighborhood services or whatever. It's, in fact, right now, behind the medical facility across there.
Are you
Yeah.
talking about the culverts in that area or just the lot?
Right, Culvers, most of that trash comes across from Smith's and Walmart, ends up in the open field over there, and it's a constant. I mean, we cleaned it up Monday. It's probably starting to get retrashed now, I would bet. But that's a continual thing since I've been here. It's been a mess. And is anybody addressing that? Or can they address it without somebody filing a complaint?
I can't even answer that. I can check into that and find that out. But if you were, I didn't know, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. I thought it was the culverts. We just did a huge massive cleanup on the culverts behind those areas, and that's what we just did. Matter of fact, if you drive by there, by Big Five and those areas, you'll see that all taken care of.
Yeah, like I say, we did the Culvers, next to Culvers between
Okay,
the thing. We
the
just did
open
that
field area.
Monday.
Correct, the open field area?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we just did that Monday and got 500 pounds out of there with the area, and Bash is, when you drive by there, it's always a mess. And my next question is, who determines whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony dumping, illegal dumping site, or just mostly with illegal dumping, wildcat dumping?
It's gonna probably be all misdemeanor. I wouldn't even venture that it would make a felony case.
I know at the county, if it's over 300 pounds or it's a commercial dumping, whether it be a bag or whatever, it's a felony. So they don't normally process them anymore because the court system doesn't do anything with it. So it's a lot of extra paperwork for them to do just to get it downgraded to a misdemeanor anyway. But there is the factor of if it's commercial or over 300 pounds, it's a class 6 felony for the county. So I didn't know if the city had anything like that.
I would almost, on my end, if somebody asked me, I would probably, it would have to be absolutely blatant. It'd have to be something so horrific that before I even go there, then I'd have to call the county attorney's office and see whether they were gonna process it as a felony. And if anybody's been through the judicial system within municipal and the criminal end on misdemeanors or felonies, there's two different systems. Felonies go to the county attorney's office, misdemeanors go to the city attorney's office. So again, you have a process on that. And those can only be answered, I won't speak on their behalf, but I can honestly tell you there's cases that will be automatically reduced to misdemeanors, or the county attorneys won't even take them.
Right. Okay, and my last question on the liens for the abatements and stuff. You said it follows the owner of the property, or does it follow the property?
I'm sorry.
So if you file a lien on abatement thing and somebody wants to sell it, is that lien going with the person or with the property? Because the county has the problem, it follows the person, so if they sell the property, the lien doesn't get the lien doesn't get paid because the person, it doesn't follow the person. So,
My understanding is that the lien process, that's a civil thing out of and I can't answer that, but my small understanding of it, whoever owns the property, they can't even file through the system until that is paid.
Exactly.
yeah, that's not
They
what,
can't sell
that's
it,
not
they
what the
can't do
county, that's not what the county is saying, but I just
Well,
wondered
my
what you were
understanding
saying.
of it, and I'm not well rehearsed in that, and not, I can't answer to everything on that, but my understanding of what we've done in the past, and any other things, criminal or anything else for liens, is once you file, the city files that lien on that property, the owner of that property cannot go through the sale process until that lien is paid. They cannot transfer paperwork to another person for that property.
That makes better sense than what the county is telling us, but.
Okay. I don't understand.
Because that's the reason
that
why
part.
they don't do too many liens on their things for wildcat dumping and stuff, because they never get their money back. So on their abatements, they don't really like to do that. That's the story I got anyway.
Well, going back to this, remember, we're looking for compliance, because we really don't want to throw liens on it, because if you look at this in some different ways, if properties are passed down from one person to the next generation, then, and that person's not paying taxes or anything else, there's other processes that work for the property, but again, they're putting liens on the property too, and if they never have so many liens, will we ever get paid? Our goal is to make sure that our city is taken care of. So if we're out money and we may not get our lien paid for another 10 years, which could happen because that person may never sell that property, the bottom line is it sends a clear message that they can't sell that property until we're paid. The other thing is we're moving forward with cleaning up that property. So we're willing to take that hit on our budget area to make that happen.
That makes better sense than the counties, but, so I think, all right, if,
I got
any other
one- I got
questions
one-
before we?
One more thing, and this kind of, about what you were talking about, the trash along Airway across from Smith's and Walmart. If we, starting next year as a committee, or as a commission, push our Adopt a Block program, I think that's how we get that as far as up to the fence at any rate. We couldn't go on, I think that property is owned by Crystal Burge back there, but I don't know. We can't go on that property without her permission. But at any rate, we could keep that. In fact, there was a group out there today, as I drove by, picking up trash. We could have a group out there once a week picking up trash, because just pick up trucks going by with stuff in the bed of the truck, flies out. It was a good windy day, everything comes over from Walmart and Smith's. So I think that's kind of on us to get that Adopt a Block program going, and maybe we can really focus on that next year. And you're right on with the abatement thing. I'd sold enough properties to where as escrow, that property cannot, any monies owed for taxes is taken right out of the sale price, and then property can be sold. So that's all I had.
Michael?
There's been a lot of good questions and a lot of good answers from you. Thank you for being here tonight. And I'm just wondering, because I know after I leave here, I'll have a lot more questions in my head. Could we have you back in the future sometime to?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, just bear with me. I'm still in the learning process. I do not have all the answers, but like I said, I'll write some of yours down and I'll be able to address those. And if you want to call me on specific ones, I have a couple of your names written down to give me a little time to research these, because some of them are great questions and very maybe difficult on some things. So I know, Rod, you'll give me a call. So just work with me. Again, I'm trying to streamline some of the processes that we've had. Again, and part of it's educational for everyone, and that's one of the things as far as people calling in. I want it to be a DR pulled right away, so we have a tracking system. People can know that we're handling it, and then I can track that if somebody has a question. And again, if you are the reporting party, an officer is going to be calling you. A neighborhood service officer is going to call you. They'll give you their name, the DR number, and all of that information, and you call them direct. You don't even have to call me. That's what we do, just like any police officer in our agency. If you get that information, you have that officer's name, whether it's a neighborhood service officer or a police officer or a detective, and they're working your case, then you can call them and they'll give you an update on that case.
All right, thank you. All right, we appreciate your presentation and very educational, and we'll be looking forward to see good things happening out there. And it sounds like you're trying to improve the program tremendously, so
Well,
we definitely appreciate that.
no problem. Any other questions? Just go ahead, Rod.
Just quickly, might want to let Dave know about that, that we can call the officers direct.
I don't have, there is.
I mean, it's not like we bug him all the time, but Dave really had a tight knit on everything went through him, and don't get hold of my code enforcement officers, don't talk to them, don't, you know.
No,
I'm just throwing it out there. so
Here's my thought process on that is, if, that'd be like me taking one of my detectives and saying, you're not calling one of my detectives, you have a case, and you can't talk to one of my detectives. So again, if you're the reporting party, remember, if you are the reporting party, that officer, whatever bureau he's from, or he or she contacts you, you are giving them information, then you need to have follow-up on that. You should be able to call that officer back. Now, that officer, if there's an issue that that officer sees in that case somehow, then that officer should be obligated to contact their supervisor, so then the supervisor becomes involved in that case.
I got one more, just curiosity. First, do the city and the county work together? It's like when the county property butts up to the city line and there's a mess over on the county side, can the city kind of talk to the county and get them to do something about that, being it's so close to city property and so visual?
Not that I know of.
Okay, and then the other one is when the county property is right in the city, like the fairgrounds, and it gets really a mess out there. Who takes care of that? Is that the county?
county.
The county does have to
Yeah.
come in. The city can't do anything about that.
The city, yeah, it's the county.
Okay, that's,
It's county property. So again, the county should be, but again, that should be clear lines of separation. If it's in the county, it's easy, call the county. If it's in the city, then call the city.
you get a lot of lip service from the county.
I can't answer that, sir. And I hope you guys don't think I'm doing that either here, but what I'm trying to tell you is I'm in the learning process, and then I can tell you some of the questions everyone had. They're gonna be, I've got some work to do.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully I'll have answers for you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go on to item 4, old business, and A is the event calendar. Do we have any new things? for old
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, just a few notable events this month. We did have the hazardous waste collection. That was on the 7th. The Kingman Democratic Committees are doing an adopt a block cleanup this weekend. And then KRMC was out today. I believe that was what was referred to earlier. KRMC was out today doing a cleanup also. So I don't know if anyone has any new events for the calendar?
The 20th, the Democratic cleanup,
Yes.
are we supposed to,
No, ma'am, that's just their adopt a block cleanup.
so it is point of just notification?
Yeah, we're just letting you know
Okay, thank you.
about the activity.
All right, I have no additions to it unless anybody else does. No, no. All righty, if that's it, we'll go on to item B, the community outreach and education.
So again, I'd like to thank Lieutenant Bryce for being here today. We will have to work on his time management a little bit if he comes back. But
Wheelan was saying, you were saying something about that, right?
Donna did include a little spreadsheet showing some of the things that we're scheduling for future meetings. We don't have anything scheduled for December, and there's another action item on that later in the agenda. But I have talked to the county. And which meeting some of these are going to lay out at is still a little bit up in the air, but we have talked to the Mojave County Flood Control about doing a presentation on their low-impact development standards, and it's pretty useful information. It's about how to handle drainage problems, on your properties, and some kind of, low-impact improvements you can do to help with drainage or water conservation. We'll have open meeting law training in February. That'll be the city clerk. We've talked about doing the annual composting of biosolids presentation for Mr. Yarborough. He's getting a little antsy that he doesn't get enough microphone time up here, so he's giving us ideas. And then possibility if we might be able to reschedule the hazardous waste drop-off presentation again in April. So that's kind of what we've got in the hopper. Some of the other ideas we've talked about is water conservation, biogas, and the ADEQ. I'm not exactly sure what that was about. But
Something you brought up, but I don't.
well, I remember the ADEQ, I didn't know they had produced a series of videos. Maybe we could look and see if some of those would be appropriate, but they had produced a series of kind of public outreach videos, and some of them are about recycling, but some of them are about, what's the phrase? Reducing and reusing. So maybe we could look at doing some of those. But so I don't know if any of the commissioners have any suggestions for other topics for us to research or try to find some folks to come in and give a presentation. for future meetings, but we're always open for those suggestions if you have any, so.
Anybody got any suggestions? Now is your time to speak. If you do come up with something, call either Dawn or
Yeah, feel free to
whatever, and
call
let
or
us know so we can
email me or
get it
Donna
on the
to let
agenda
us
and
know.
stuff. All right, if nobody's got any additions to that, we'll move on to C, which is the Community Recognition Program.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I guess I will turn this over to Mr. Oberg. We did have a award presentation right here in this very room. So, but I don't know, Commissioner Oberg, if you
Yeah.
could kind of fill in the
Yeah, I
rest of
think
the commission.
we had our first awards, community recognition. It went very well. We had it here in the chambers. Mayor was here, Sean from the fire department was here. And we even made all 3 newspapers, and it worked out real well. We have 2 more we're going to give. The ladies in California, it's the owner of the Staples Center and everything. So, and she was on vacation, and we had the parade. So I think next week, Rob and I'll try and get hold of her, and we're thinking about maybe doing a Zoom with her so she can get her award, and then we'll mail it to her. The other award is one of the general contractors here in town, and his wife has some issues right now, so we kind of put his on hold. I'm thinking after Thanksgiving, we'll get with Cliff and get his award to him. But anyway, it's going real well. If anybody, like we talk at every meeting, has someone that's doing a real good effort to keep the city clean, and just let me know. And we have a plaque set up with one of the local businesses here. I'll get the plaque all made up, and we'll put together the awards, and that's all we have for that.
Well, and just, I guess, one additional thing, I did reach out to the public information officer for the city and sent her the link to the award nomination form that's on the website, and included a little blurb, so that'll be on the city's Facebook page going forward, so.
Please. Thank you.
Just got a question. Is this awards for a monthly award recognition, or is it?
It's just, I don't know, as need basis.
As
It's
need,
not
okay.
much.
Yeah, it's just trying to recognize property owners that do, go above and beyond to improve the cleanliness or appearance of their property. So we'd just like to be able to recognize those folks and maybe try to encourage a little bit more of that behavior. So,
And we have it set up in 3 categories. It'd be business owners, property owners, and general contractors, construction.
and the plaques turned out very nice, thanks to
Yes,
Commissioner
very
Oberg.
nice,
So
nice
they're
plaque.
They're pretty sharp.
So I have a question. So on that program, we're going to have a presentation here, and then we were going to discuss them, not really discuss, but note them in the meeting, correct?
Yeah, we're doing the presentation separately from the meetings. So,
Correct.
and we did the first one here, but I think that's, depending on either, we're trying to make sure that we can get the mayor to as many of them as we can, and that's, between this room being open and the mayor's schedule, that can be problematic. But if we need to do them out in the field or at their place of business or wherever, we're pretty flexible on that. But yeah, I think we'll do the presentations outside of this meeting, but then, I'll mention them, the following meeting, follow up with the meeting.
So the name of the 2 winners were?
Sierra Homes was the one that we presented.
Yeah, it was Sequoia
Or
Homes.
Sequoia Homes, I apologize.
Chris, I don't know if you know her. And then Cliff with 44 Builders, and June Wilson with the name of the property. Anyway, it's the Staples, Big 5, that whole shopping center. She does a great job. She really jumped through hoops to try and get that. I think if you drive through there on the weekends now, you'll notice it's so much cleaner. I got her to rearrange her cleaning schedule, so they're actually going in on the weekends now and emptying the garbage and stuff like that. So she really, she put up some more signage for camping, overnight camping, and yeah, they really stepped up to the plate and did a lot for the city.
But when we do the presentations with the photo ops, we've invited the commission members, anybody who's available to come down for that, so.
Right, I just thought we would give them a little moment of recognition here while we were together. But I wasn't aware of, since I wasn't in the backup, who the actual awards
Okay.
were, so.
And that's something we
That's-
can
That's
include
okay,
going forward.
Donna.
All righty, if that's all with that one, can move on to D, which is service to the community program.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, so our scope of work has gone through all the reviews with our risk management department, and everybody's pretty comfortable with that. The waivers have been finalized. Where we're at right now is starting to work on the promotional materials for that program. So brochures both for residents who might be in need and also for service organizations that want to participate, volunteer with us, and also for local businesses that want to donate materials. So Eddie's kind of gone through and doing an inventory on what we've got and what we might need for that. But hopefully next meeting we'll have some draft promotional materials, brochures for you to review. The other item we would need to address would be to come up with the schedule, our public outreach schedule. Because we're going to need, between staff and the commissioners, we're going to need volunteers to go out and speak to service organizations. Again, looking for the volunteers, or if they know anybody who's in need of this assistance. And we'll also have to be doing outreach to churches, nonprofits, looking for people in need, but also doing the outreach to the local vendors for any supplies, PPE, or equipment that we may need for this work. So that's going to be, I think, that's going to take all of us, and that's going to take a while for us to go beat the bushes while we're, using our Facebook website to kind of publicize the program. So.
I think I've mentioned this before, but Dave Reif, Sergeant Reif, he has a list of churches that he works with constantly to go out and help clean stuff up. So
Yeah,
that would probably be our first
Yeah.
stop, is to get with Dave.
And I think, again, we'll be working with neighborhood services on, because they're going to be dealing with people where they have complaints out there that, are physically unable or financially unable to clean up their property. And I think we'll be getting our share of referrals from neighborhood services too.
Yeah, that's going to take everybody to get on board with that and to promote the thing to the different organizations. So if you're a member of any organization or familiar with them.
And maybe
Then
that's
we'll-
something,
yeah.
for the next meeting, we can start putting together a list. And if you, like I say, whatever organizations you belong to or are aware of, if you
Right.
think it'd be something that would be applicable to them, something that they might want to partner with us on, then, you could let us know and we can start building that list and start trying to track down some contact information for those different groups.
Very good. Anybody got any other questions or anything, comments on that program? All righty. Hopefully we'll get that going the first part of next year and get busy with that. So that'll be exciting to get going. So if we're done with that one, we can move on to C, the adopt-a-block update. I know Teresa and C's been working on that in the past.
Sadly to say, I haven't had a chance to do a whole heck of a lot on the Adopt-a-Block program. Things have been kind of active for me lately, and I just haven't been able to put the time in on it. So big push next year on that.
Teresa?
So I wasn't here for our October meeting, and apparently we didn't have that meeting, but we were going to talk about Adopt-a-Block then, so I'm kind of glad that it got pushed to this meeting. Originally, I had gotten a list from Donna, and it had roughly around 20 different folks from years ago that were in the program then. I believe between me and C, we have reached out to all of those folks, and I know of 2 no's, and one was due to kind of the aging of the group participants, and one was more of they're already doing with another program with the community. So it was United Way, which we partner with, so it was still a win. But other than that, everyone that I have spoken to has been very positive. And even on the group level, for the ones that weren't able to, they also still wanted to volunteer when we do have cleanups or other programs individually. So I thought it was a definite win, and I think, you know, we should reach out more, talk about it more, promote more. I know, I was hoping, since we have 7 lovely faces, that maybe we could, you know, split up some of our programs, so some people that are more passionate about others would be, you know, might have more time than some and be able to kind of divide and conquer. But I didn't know how the commission feels about that. But I definitely would support the Adopt a Block. I think a lot of folks have forgotten that it's a program and what it's for, and how it like costs nothing but just a little bit of time, and it has a big reward. So I definitely want to see us continue with the program.
We definitely appreciate your efforts on that. So some things we can do, and I can do the same thing with our PIO as far as putting together just a little blurb, you know, that this program's back, and you know, here's a link to the application, and
Yeah, that'd be great.
we can get that on the Facebook and on the website too. And Ed and Donna have done some work on that too. We've come up with a new safety briefing that we'll provide to all the groups to sign up for the Adopt a Block, and they've taken the information from ADOT and kind of condensed that down to what's really more applicable about working in, you know, on city streets rather than highways, and so that'll be good too, and that'd be something we'll be reaching out with new groups when we sign them up, and kind of going through this safety briefing and making sure that happens every time they do a cleanup. But we can definitely try to get the word out some more on our Facebook and website too.
Yeah, I think that would go good with the service to the community when we start promoting that out there, to also promote the Adopt a Block to them also. 'Cause they
Yeah,
can-
I kind of gave them like, we're in the works with another program, and it was very positive on that program as well.
Well, and that's a good point. When we're out speaking to these folks, I mean, we can talk about more than one subject, so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I was going to look into the scouting program, being that they give merit awards for community service to add to their resume. And the ones that I've contacted, unfortunately, have been a young demographic. Really, as long as they have parents out there with them, that it would be okay, except on highways such as what we ADOT, about the age of 14. But I'm going to look into the scout thing, see if I can talk to older scouts, and see if we can get that going, as well as the 4-H program also has merit awards for community service. So we'll look into the 4-H program and see if we can get that going. And lots of opportunities out there. We just got to touch on them.
All righty. If that's it on that program, that's where we're at. So we'll go on to number 5, a new business. And we'll first discuss the December Clean City Commission meeting. Normally, in the past, since I've been here, we've not had a December meeting because of the holidays and stuff like that. So we'll discuss that and see if everybody is okay with that, and skip that meeting. And So what's your thoughts on that?
I'll make a motion right off the top, excuse me, that we cancel the December meeting.
Do I have a second? I second. All righty, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of doing away with the December meeting and meeting again in January? If you're in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None? All right, we will not have a December meeting, so enjoy the holidays and watch the scales, and we'll see you in January. All righty, and the next new business is election of officers for chairman and vice chair. And this is just a notification to, if you will, somebody's going to be the new chairman and somebody's going to be the new vice chair. So think about that, and we'll vote on that in January to have new officers, and if Rob's got any input on that.
Yeah, we just wanted to plant that seed, to think about a little bit before the January meeting, and, you know, it is work, but, you know, it's a valuable experience, I think, and just want to make sure that we've got some people who've thought about it, and they're willing to take on that responsibility ahead of time, so we're not sitting here in silence at the first meeting in January, because we have no volunteers. So, you know, please think about it, and no action required tonight. Just that's something we'll have to do as our first order of business in January, is elect a chairman and a vice chair.
I know Fia's had several years here as the chair, so we have some other members that can step up and take a year at it, and that would be greatly appreciated, and that way everybody gets some experience in sitting here and running the meetings and what have you, and look forward to your input.
That's a good idea. I think like the city, or the county supervisors, everybody gets a shot at it sooner or later, and I think that's a good idea here. I think everybody ought to, during their term as commissioner, be a chairman. It's not hard.
It's a good experience.
It is.
Well, and it's important. I mean, it's a
Yep.
real important part of keeping your meetings productive and moving along. So,
Some people might be better at moving along the meeting than I, because I'm not forward about clocks and stuff, but other people, that's just me though, so. The main thing is have fun and enjoy the opportunity. All righty. Announcements by commission members. We'll start out with Teresa.
So I don't have any announcements, but I would like to see if we could, on our next one in January, add discussion to where we could do a cleanup schedule, like either quarterly or bi-monthly, something that we do specifically, the Clean City Commission. And I'd also like to add that we put like a placeholder on Adopt-A-Block for the next meetings starting in January, so we can talk about it and be more active with the program. And I wish everyone happy holidays and good health. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Teresa. Fee.
Well, I want to welcome our two new commissioners. Basically, this is your first meeting, even though you were here last month. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
I don't have any announcements other than on the minutes here. While they said that Kathy and I were going to have a booth at the Chillin' on Beale, and that particular Chillin' on Beale happened to be one of the special ones that they had, and they had a super amount of attendance, and there wasn't a place that we could put up easy up, let alone a table. I mean, the sidewalks were jammed with people. We couldn't even put a tent on the sidewalk, let alone in the street. So we'll have to try that again when the weather gets good again next year, maybe we can do something during Chillin' on Beale, and just a little public awareness table. That's about all I have.
All right, thank you, Steve. Randy?
Thank you for having me. Nothing from one of the new guys.
Welcome to the
I'm
commission.
working my way into it, yeah.
Yes, welcome to the commission.
Thank you.
And Rod?
I'm fine. Welcome, new members, yeah,
Thank you.
new commissioners.
All right, Mike?
Thank you guys for having us. Since there are 2 new members here, I was wondering if we could put on the agenda at some point the responsibilities of the Clean City Commission, so we know what we can do and not do and things like that, just to get a better feel for what our
Yes, sir.
jobs require.
Yes, sir.
All righty, Kathy? Nothing? Thank you, thank you.
Happy holidays.
All right, I have just a couple. On Monday, like I said during the meeting, we did clean up that area over there by Culver's and between Culver's and the medical clinic over there with the 500 pounds there, and that was from the cactus cleaners came into town and did that. And also, I understand that we now have chip drop within the county, which means if you want a 20-yard load of chips, you go onto the website, fill out the form, and they'll bring you logs or things, and you can designate what you don't want, like oleanders or what have you. I tried it a couple years ago, and they didn't even serve this area, and now they have, and myself and several people have requested a chip drop, but it's not like a pickup load or anything like that. You get a big truckload, so if you want one, be prepared for what you're going to get. So that is now available. We don't know how long it's going to take, so, because none's happened that we know of yet, so we'll see if it actually works. But that's a new program here that's supposedly there, so that'll help with your water retention and doing your soil amendments and stuff like that, so you can make stuff grow and make the water infiltrate into the ground. So it's a good program if it works. We'll keep you posted on that. But
Top mulch is good for trees.
yep. Now, again, if you have something you think of during the time and you want to put it on the agenda, get a hold of Rob or Donna, and then we'll see about getting that on the agenda and stuff like that. But don't be afraid. Just if you got an idea, get it on there so we can talk about it and maybe do something about it. So don't rely on the chairman or the vice chair to come up with all the ideas. You have just as much say as we do. So we'd appreciate your input on that thing also. So, Rob, do you have any announcements for us?
No, sir.
If that's it, we will have a motion for adjournment.
Can I have the honors?
Sure.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right. All in,
I was going to get the new guy a chance.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Anybody want to stay here? All right.
His
I guess
job,
we're done.
should he decide to accept it, is to bring in another cheesecake in January.